Look, no one celebrated more the Biden presidency than criminal cartels because they heard the promises he made, and the promise he made was going to cause a surge at the border. So the criminal cartels are back in business. These criminal cartels are ruthless, and people don't see the flip side of that. They see illegal immigration a victimless crime. It's far from victimless.
Former acting ICE director there, Tom Homan, on the threat of drug cartels exploiting vulnerabilities along our southern border. As more states move to ease drug laws, my next guest is calling this a perfect storm that could ruin our American cities. Quote, the cartels won't pass up this opportunity to grow its footprint. That will spell disaster for Washington and Oregon. And before you know it, it'll land in your neighborhood. I want to bring in now Jason Rantz, joining me now from KTTH Seattle radio talk show host. Jason, always great to have you on the program, get your perspective. You've been on the ground as a journalist. You've seen so much. What do you make of this situation? And I've had Montana AG, other attorneys general across the states say that it doesn't just affect the border. It migrates elsewhere throughout the country. The spike in crime, the cartels drive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you've got open borders, you've got cartels that are willing to take advantage of it. We know that because they've historically taken advantage of any issue that they can. Back during the Obama administration, for example, they were very crucial, these Mexican drug cartels, in bringing in fentanyl into this country. And they were doing that through the border that was under security. They did that because at the time there wasn't really the infrastructure in place to find the fentanyl. It's easily disguised. And so now what you have happening is the cartels are going to take advantage of an open border because prior to the open border, just in the last year, the DEA just put out a pretty damning report saying that they have this part of the country, the Pacific Northwest, under siege, bringing in fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid, which is incredibly toxic if you take just even a little bit too much of it. And we've seen the cartels be a little bit more open to this region because in Oregon, voters just passed a decriminalization bill of possession. It's no longer a felony. And then here in Washington state, the Supreme Court literally just about a month and a half ago got rid of the felony drug possession law on the books, which has meant a whole bunch of drug dealers and people who have been committing crimes, not just drug-related crimes, are being released from prison or not even being held at all.
Wow. Just a quick follow-up. Why would they do that? It seems to make it easier for the drug dealers, and I want to get to the next thing.
I mean, I think they do that because they looked at this issue as a social justice cause. It was a split decision, which we generally don't get from the Washington State Supreme Court. They're very far to the left. But that you had a number of them saying, yeah, it is unconstitutional to assume that someone who is found to have drugs on them, that it was intentional. Because as I've said this before, who among us hasn't reached into our pocket and pulled out an 8-ball of cocaine and said, how did this get there? It is an absurd position, and it's gone so overboard the way that they are viewing drug laws here. There's consequences.
So you're also sounding the alarm on how volunteer groups are being forced now to clean up cities where local officials are dropping the ball. And to get a sense of how slow Seattle city leaders have been in cleaning up the city, you tweeted out some photos of homeless encampment at Seattle Park, writing, it only took 60 plus 911 calls, 10 arsons or illegal burns, 5 domestic violence incidents, 4 assaults, 3 sex offenses, and an attempt to burn an officer alive in his patrol vehicle to get the city to act. Jason.
Yes, that's the city that we live in, and that's the situation in a lot of parks. And it's not even just Seattle. There's a story out again today in Bellingham up in northern Washington where they're dealing with the same issue. You've got homeless people who are taking advantage of lax laws thanks to city councils that are very, very far to the left, basically saying, yeah, we're ceding over this property. They claim that it lacks compassion to sweep these encampments and put people into shelters, which is, of course, a weird position. They call folks like me as someone who lacks compassion because I support the sweeps. But the compassion from the Seattle City Council leaves people living in squalor and inevitable death.
Yeah. The pictures tell part of the story. You tell us the rest.